I argued that until the Republicans truly grabbed hold of the foundation of what the party is supposed to be about, we were going to continue to suffer. That we had to adhere to the Constitution, that fiscal discipline, limited government, accountability, and a strong national defense, that those are the pillars of our future, that the best hope for Utah and their best hope for the United States of America. And that we weren't actually executing on those. More and more you started asking people about fiscal responsibility, and they wouldn't necessarily associate Republicans directly with that issue. It's because they had been fiscally irresponsible, in my opinion. And I argued to the voters of Utah, if you want a different result, you're going to have to elect different people, even if they're people within our own party.
When the government measures poverty and inequality, the entire welfare state is treated as if it doesn't exist. That's fair. That's honest. And then what do they come back and do? They say, oh my goodness, we have 40 million poor people. We better spend some more money on food stamps. It's a game which the taxpayer could never possibly win.
How much time would you say you spend daily on Twitter and Facebook?
You know, if you do it right, it's maybe 15 minutes, and you know, sometimes it's maybe 20. But the key is to do it day in and day out and make sure it's you, not some staffer.
What is the greatest lesson you have learned in Congress so far?
Votes matter. You know, that one person can really make a difference. I thought coming into Congress as a freshman there'd be more of a hierarchy. They'd say, hey, rookie, you do this, we do that. It's not like that at all. That if you dive in deep and get willing to get your fingernails dirty, you can have an influence on the discussion, and that's good to know.
And what advice would you give for conservatives who are running against incumbents like you did?
We've got to stop apologizing and start standing true on those conservative principles. Talk about fiscal discipline, limited government, accountability, and a strong national defense. These are winning issues. We're on the right side of it. It's what America's looking for. People are fed up with what they're seeing on their television and reading in their newspaper. They just need to have the right messengers who are true to those principles and will stand tall no matter what on those core principles.
I'd like to know your thoughts on the current healthcare reforms being proposed in Congress right now in context of your research.
Well, as I have stated, Obama is already going to spend $10 trillion on assistance to the poor over the next decade. We will already be spending twice as much each year as we spent when Bill Clinton was president after adjusting for inflation. And then the healthcare is going to just add another trillion on top of that. The bottom line is we already spend enough in Medicaid to cover virtually every family with children below $40,000 a year. The Medicaid money is just wasted. It's very inefficient. We do not need to be spending large amounts of new money in order to cover people. And I don't really think that's the agenda. I think Obama has told us he wants a single payer or a government monopoly healthcare system, and everything that's going on in the Congress is designed to bring about that result.
Ideally, who do you believe should be responsible for social welfare? A state responsibility, federal government? Well,
conservatives do need to understand that the market system is very productive. It produces really a miracle of wealth. It also produces great inequalities of income. And in general, the public isn't happy with those very high levels of inequality. And therefore, I don't, in principle, object to the government spending some money to assist low-income people, in particular people with disabilities, things like that. However, when you're spending money to assist able-bodied parents and things like that, which is half of the welfare state, you have to do it in such a way that you don't discourage work and discourage marriage. And unfortunately, we have spent $16 trillion on welfare since the beginning of the war on poverty. Most of that spending has penalized work and penalized marriage, and as a result, people are less capable of self-sufficiency today than they were when Lyndon Johnson launched the war on poverty. So what's important is to control the growth in this spending and spend the money in a way that truly helps people rather than harms them.
What advice would you give to youth now who would like to someday follow in your footsteps of hopefully stemming the growth of welfare?
Well, I think it's very important that you have to learn to think outside the box. In the field of welfare, there are only about 3 or 4 conservatives in the entire United States that study this. And so basically all of my work is to learn how to think beyond the pablum that comes out each and every day. Basically, most of the establishment doesn't want to talk about the real problems of poverty. They don't want to talk about the fact that 40% of American children are born outside of wedlock, and that's the major cause of poverty today. Because to do that would be to blame the victim. It would also jeopardize the next round of welfare increases, okay? So you have to learn to think outside what your sociology teacher is teaching you, and you have to learn to basically do your own research because they're not going to do it for you.